Kenya is slowly descending into a dictatorship. Kenya is slowly assuming the path of its neighbor Uganda. Uganda has been under the rule of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for many years. In fact, Uganda has been under Yoweri Kaguta's rule for 37 years since 1986. In my country, Kenya, today, there is a proposal in the House of Representatives, that is the Senate, from one of the presidential allied members suggesting that the presidential term limit should be extended from 5 years to 7 years. It always starts just as simple as that, extending the presidential term limit and then changing the constitution to allow for no term limits, with the current suggestion to increase the term for the presidency from 5 to 7 years. I see Kenya descending into a dictatorship. The current president will solidify his power after, let me say, 14 years. Then after 14 years, or maybe at the end of the 13th year, he will alter the constitution to allow for a termless presidency. Termless presidency, that means that there are no limits for the president to stay in power. The president can stay in power for 50, 40, or 60 years. And under such kind of leadership, only the presidential favorites will rule. Before leaving office, a president will have a favorite successor. And this successor does not need to go through the election process. He might go through the election process, but is likely to be selected, and not elected. Kenyans must be very wise, and Kenyans must be very vigilant. And on this platform, I propose that the Kenyan constitution should be changed, should be amended to allow a president to stay in office for only 5 years. There is nothing like two consecutive 5-year terms. There should be nothing like allowing a president to stay in office for 10 years. The maximum and the minimum period for one to act as president, one to be president of a country like Kenya, should be 5 years only, not 10 years. And I ask my fellow Kenyan brothers and sisters to be vigilant. If it calls for demonstration, then this should be. Allowing a president to be in office for 14 years, that is unwise, that is immoral, unethical. What will this president do for 14 years that he cannot do in 5 years? What will this president do in 7 years that he cannot do in 5 years? There is a problem with the democracy. And I believe that these constitutions that are within our countries are ruining our lives. They are ruining our political landscape. They are ruining our economic lifestyles. Kenyans should be very, very vigilant. They should be very, very vigilant. We have a bunch of leaders who are selfish. Once they get into power, they never want to leave. Power in Africa, power in Kenya, and power in the world is very sweet. Once a leader assumes office, there is no intention of descending. There is no intention of leaving. That is why you see very many presidents, like the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, the current North Korean supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. They want to serve for life. And when you come to Africa, the presidency, being a president, is a matter of life and death. One is capable of killing an opponent only to be the president of the country. That tells you the attraction, the sweetness that these leaders derive from the presidency. the sweetness that they derive from being a president in Africa. Africans must be very vigilant, and Kenyans, to be specific, must be very vigilant, because the country is headed into a strict dictatorship that should never and will never be allowed in my country, Kenya, if and only if Kenyans become vigilant.